I've been in business specializing in sales and marketing since 1980. I'm an executive coach, an international trainer and speaker, an author, a TV show host, husband, and father. Like many, I've experienced a freak accident and almost died from it. The impact from a hit to the back of my head dissected an artery in my brain, and a few days later, I had a significant cerebellar stroke. Since my stroke, I've been researching and seeking answers to many of the questions that come to light when you live through a traumatic event like this. I'll share what I've learned about living full out, how to prosper in difficult times. We'll talk about some current events and always end with some inspiration and encouragement that you just might need at this particular moment. This is Scott Schilling Speaks. Scott Schilling Speaks is powered by Be Connected, the premier online hub for business owners and professionals to connect and collaborate for greater success. To learn how Be Connected will help you and your business, go to bkfreefor3.com. Hi, and welcome to Scott Schilling Speaks. I'm your host, Scott Schilling. And as always, I've got another great show in line here because I've got a great friend here that has done so much. You know, an entrepreneur from the age of 12, has built teams of people and helped them be successful, loves to network and get to know people, and has lived through some pretty amazing challenges as well. Please help me welcome my good friend, Mike Unclebach.
Hey,
Mike,
Scott.
thanks for being here.
Man, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited.
You know, like I said, I know that you've been an entrepreneur for a long time and a variety of different things. Give everybody a snapshot of your background.
It's funny. You brought up the story about 12. That's my dad's fault. So at about 12, I wanted one of those new, now you understand I'm 60, so I wanted one of those new BMX bikes, right? And I went to my dad and I said, Dad, man, I'd really like this bike. You know, it was blue, had the wheels on it. And he said, son, I'd like for you to have that bike. And he took me by the hand and we started at the garage. So guess what I thought?
You thought there was one there.
The bike's in the garage, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, this is my dad. You know my dad.
Yeah.
Walks me over to the corner. You know what was in the corner of the garage? The lawnmower.
He said, to show you how to get it.
Son, I'll show you how to get the bike, and I'll even invest in your business. I'll pay for the first can of gas. He said, there's all these people down the street that need their yards mowed, and you can get your bike that way. And that was the start. By the time I was 14, I had employees. I actually had trucks, not trucks.
Wow.
And everybody says, well, how do you run trucks when you're 14? Well, you just hire people that are old enough to have a driver's license. Okay. Managed my business out of my checking account by going to the bank every day and asking for a printout. So every time I would come, the gal behind the thing said, yeah, I know, you want a printout. It's total cash flow, right? I didn't know how to run a business or a checkbook, but I knew how to bill for X amount and collect the money and pay my employees. And life kind of went from there.
That's awesome. You know, I mean, what a great place to start and what a great lesson to learn and be able to share, especially at this time when so many people need maybe a little encouragement to start something new or whatever. Now, I know life has not always been just a bed of roses. You've also gone through some pretty significant health challenges along the way.
Yeah, you know, you and I have that in common. I call it my 4 years in hell. I also believe God doesn't waste pain. So long story short, family doctor sends me to the hospital one day thinking I'm having a heart attack. I wasn't. But they rushed me to the cath lab, and when I wake up, I have a new handy-dandy pacemaker in my chest. Okay, but I was a professional runner early in my life. First thing I asked the doctor, does this mean I can't run? He said, oh no, we talked to your wife first. We put the athletic version in you. You'll be able to run. So I said, when? 2 weeks. So 2 weeks went by, I got a buddy of mine, because when you got your handy-dandy new pacemaker, you don't want to go test that bad boy out on your own. And so we started to run. We were going to do 3 miles, walk in the park for me. About 200 yards in, my right leg doesn't work. Call the doc. Hey, why didn't my leg work? Well, probably spasm. Try again tomorrow. So I did. Leg no work. Back to the hospital, scan. Oh, you have blood clot. Into intensive care. 3 days pumping me full of blood clot breakers. That doesn't work. Send me home. tell my wife to give me shots 3 days a week for 2 weeks. Now, it wasn't so bad, except every time my wife walked in the room with that needle, she was smiling. And I went, geez, honey, has it been that bad? So after 18 days, back to the hospital, they couldn't find a pulse in my right foot.
Wow.
I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but I knew that was bad. And my spirit just told me that, hey, you need to go. And I got up, walked out of that hospital, ended up in another, had emergency surgery to take out what they called a fibrous mass from my femoral artery. Doctor says, oh, it's about that big.
Jeez.
Your femoral artery's totally occluded. If you'd have waited, you'd have lost your leg. And good news was, saved my leg. Bad news was, I let 18 days of gunk all over my body. My immune system goes crazy. So if you get up close, you can see I got vitiligo, some spots on my face. That's an autoimmune thing. I developed this thing called idioangioedema, which just means you swell up like a toad for no apparent reason. I can show you some really cool pictures. In the middle of all that, I'm having chest pains all the time, still like I'm having a heart attack. 20 some odd different heart tests. Can't figure out, there's nothing wrong, right? They keep then they start telling you it's just up here. In the middle of all that, we figured out I had cancer. Other than that, no big deal.
Just easy, huh?
Yeah, just piece of cake.
Well, you know, I mean, it does give you a different perspective when you've
Yes,
been
it
through
does.
all those different things, and you tend to pick up different reasons for wanting to go ahead and be of service. Now, I know you've been in insurance for a lot of years as one of your entrepreneurial ventures, but now with everything you've accomplished and everything that you've lived through, you know, how do you get to the point where you want to share what we're going to talk about here today, and that is infinite banking?
Yeah, 43 years in the insurance business. Okay, I started when I was 12. Actually, I got my license the day I turned 18. Some of you that are older will remember the reason I got my license. There's a little balding, pudgy guy by the name of Art Williams, which turned into A.O. Williams, which turned into Primerica, which is still there today. But I was 18. Took my test on my 18th birthday, and I've never looked back. You know, I had a conversation with my wife just a couple of weeks ago, and being a serial entrepreneur, I've owned lots of different businesses. My brother and I brought paintball to Texas, you know, God, 20-some, 30 years ago. Just a myriad of things, but insurance has been the constant. My wife and I realized that it's been 43 years, there's never been a month that an insurance company didn't write me a check, okay? Which means I've served a lot of people over the past years, and that was more of what you would consider the traditional insurance business, life, health, annuities.
Right.
The words you just brought up aren't traditional. Infinite banking is not traditional insurance.
Well, no, absolutely not. I know I first heard about it from a friend about 3 years ago, and he encouraged me to take a look at it, and I learned a little bit about it. Probably should have learned more about it back then, but you know, God's plan and timing is perfect, so everything happens when it's supposed to. So how does infinite banking actually work?
Okay, so that's a $60,000
big-
question. It's a
big
big question. So infinite banking is really a concept, not a mechanism. So if you go to a big insurance company and you go, hey, I want to buy an infinite banking policy, they're going to look at you like you got a third eye.
Got it.
That is not on their product list.
So we need to do a little education here today.
Yeah, it's a little deeper than that.
Okay.
So, you know, you said you heard about it a few years ago. I'm not quite as bright as you. I heard about it 20 years ago and didn't do anything about it until this friend of mine, his name's Jim Gregg, and Jim starts pinging on me a little over a year ago. He says, man, Mike, you need to watch this video. And I took a couple of calls, and then finally I went, Jim, you got your insurance license about 3 minutes ago. And I'm not trying to be rude, but I've been doing this 43 years. What is it you want to show me? And he said, just watch a video. So I did. I had to call him back, Scott, and apologize. I said, okay, I'm going to go, you got my attention, I'm going to go research this. So I did. Basically shut myself in a closet for about 90 days, read everything I could find, watched every video I could find, and tried to find as many people who were actually doing it, who would actually have a conversation with me. You ever run into the thing where people know about something really good and they have a scarcity mentality?
Yeah, it's like mine. not willing to share it with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, what a shame.
Yeah, you're right. There's something to that, but no, I'm not willing to tell you how I do it.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, all that did was tell me that I was on the right path and I needed to pursue this as a mission. The more I prayed about it, actually I would tell you, some people might think this is weird that I'm called to deliver this message. It's that important. So I learned everything I could learn as fast as I could learn, talked to everybody who would talk to me, and then you just start to do. I mean, we all learn
Right.
by doing. So you asked me, what is infinite banking? So infinite banking is the concept of using a whole life policy from a mutual company that pays dividends that offers a banking mechanism. So here's what I mean. It's a very low face amount, high cash value insurance policy that allows us to put and take money like we would at the bank. So the best way for me to illustrate it is to give you an example.
Okay.
So we all bank, right?
Right.
You bank,
Sure.
I bank. I mean,
Absolutely.
nobody writes checks
Right.
anymore, right? It's all just electronic transactions. So we're either going to bank or we're going to get banked. I'm going to show you how to bank right now.
Got it.
Here's an example. We live in Texas, so we need a new car today. So since we live in Texas, we don't buy cars, we buy pickup trucks.
That's right.
And
Sure.
the number one selling pickup truck in Texas is a Ford. Now, Ford's not paying me and I don't have any fit, but it is number one selling truck. So we're going to go get us a new Ford truck. And if we want a decent truck, we're going to spend $60,000, $70,000 on that truck. I mean, if you want it to have wheels and tires and
Right.
leather interior.
Look good. Well,
yeah.
you're in Texas. It has to.
Heck, I know a guy the other day spent $100,000 on a Ford Raptor, one of those
Sheesh.
hot rod. Yeah, $100,000.
Crazy.
I'm going, okay, anyway, we're just going to get a nice truck. So $60,000. So when you go to the dealership, you'll notice the first discussion with the salesperson isn't usually price or whatever. They ask you, what do you want your payment to be? It's all around what we can afford to spend, right?
Right.
So you settle on the $60,000 truck, and that what you want your payment would be is about $1,000 if you got decent credit, and that's if you pay for it over 6 years.
Wow.
So you're going to end up spending $72,000 to get a $60,000 truck because you get a 4 or 5% interest rate.
Right.
And at the end of the 6 years, they're going to hand you the title to the truck, right?
Right.
You fulfilled your obligation. And if you took good care of it, it's worth about 30 grand. And now, time to do it all over again, right? Because you got a 6-year-old vehicle.
Right.
That's what we do in America. We're on the financing merry-go-round.
Yeah, it's not what it costs, it's what it costs a month.
Yep. And so we do that. What if you had listened to your friend a few years ago and you had gone down the infinite banking path and you had funded your bank? So now we have the Bank of Scott inside a dividend-paying whole life policy, and you had the money to pay for the truck out of your bank. And so you did. But you're a good banker. And so you cut yourself the exact same deal that Ford Motor Credit was going to cut you, the exact same $1,000 payment, and you pay yourself back over the 6 years. So you pay $72,000, but back to the Bank of Scott. So at the end of the 6 years, we have our $72,000 back, but it's better because that went into your bank. So month one, when you put the $1,000, we got interest. And we've been doing that for 6 years.
Wow.
So we don't have 72, we have 80.
Nice.
And we have the title to the truck. Okay?
Sounds like a win-win-win so far.
Option one, pay $72,000, have a title worth 30. Option two, pay $72,000, have 80 and the title to the truck. Which one of those would you rather do?
I think 2 is better.
Okay, so now here's the question. How many cars have you driven in your
Oh,
lifetime?
geez. I don't want to think through how many of those transactions I've had.
At least 10?
Oh, easy. Easy.
So we've got a husband and wife. Would it be reasonable to think you might go through 20 cars between 25 and 65, between the two of you?
Certainly. Absolutely.
What if you throw a couple of kids in there?
Got a couple kids.
Could we get to 20, 25 cars?
Easily, yeah.
Pretty reasonably.
Wow.
Okay, let's dumb it down. Let's say those aren't all $80,000 transactions. Let's just say they were 60 with interest
Right.
and everything. What's 20 times 60? About 1.2 million
Yeah.
per family.
Wow.
It's a $1.2 million swing, and that's just cars.
Okay, hold on, time out. I got to let that settle for a second. I got to think that through. So, by simply looking at the situation from a different frame of reference, with a little more education, because you're the expert, you got the education. Not everybody needs to know every bit that you know. It's $1.2 million difference to me.
Just cars.
You didn't have to say it that way. That kind of hurt. I just got to tell you.
Just
Just
cars.
cars.
Yeah.
And so you can use it for anything,
Well, if you finance stuff on credit cards, right?
right?
Washer, dryer, vacation, taxes, student loans, home.
So are there any minimums or maximums or anything like that?
The only limitations are the ones you place on it yourself. You can fund your bank to the limit you're willing to do it. So here's one of the reasons I'm so excited about it. I have been a serial entrepreneur. I have done a lot of things, bought and sold a lot of businesses, helped a lot of people get into business. That's just always been a passion of mine. So if I help you open the Bank of Scott,
Right.
I just put you in business.
That's
That
right.
bank's a business.
That's right.
Okay? So you ever heard of a thing called hard money lending in the real estate
Yeah,
business?
absolutely.
Okay, so hard money lenders are the people that lend the flippers the money to, you can't go to the bank and get speculative money to flip houses unless you
Right.
got a
Right.
financial resume out the wazoo. Okay? But there are people that will loan you that money. They're called hard money lenders. Okay? And they get a little better interest rate than the bank gets,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
10, 12%, and maybe that's for 6 months.
Right.
The number one hard money lenders in the United States, all the money comes out of infinite banking policies. So watch this. They piled up, let's just say they piled up $1 million in a banking policy, and you need $60,000 for your 20% down so you can go get the rest from the bank to flip the house, right?
Right.
So they loan you the 60 at 10% for 6 months. Okay, so you're going to pay them back 66,
Right.
right? The whole time, the money's still sitting over there in their bank, and I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here, earning 4% compounded. So they're getting 10 from you, 4% from the insurance company, and they do it over and over and over. Would that be a business?
That would be a business. That would be a smart business.
Okay, so let's say you did just what some people call a family office. So you set your bank up, you're the patriarch of your family, and you get your bank up and going. Are there any family members in your bank that ever finance cars?
Oh, absolutely. Again, I got a couple kids and, the extended family from there.
Nieces,
Sure.
nephews,
Sure.
whatever? Could you finance them their cars?
Wow. So there's some pretty amazing possibilities.
Could you finance their student loan instead of going to Sallie Mae?
Yeah, for sure.
Is there any limit to what you could do if you were comfortable with it and maybe took a little time and learned how to do it?
How much time?
Okay, that's the cool part. With YouTube, you can learn anything in a couple.
That's true.
You could get a reasonable grasp pretty quick. But if you're dealing with really closely held stuff,
Right.
you can go to LegalZoom and get a loan document real quick if that's what you wanted to do. But let's say forget all that. You don't want to. You just want to do your own
Right.
stuff.
Exactly.
You're going to do your cars, your washer and dryer, your TV.
Your little sphere of influence.
We're going to get out of credit card debt. So we got to talk about debt for a second, because if you're going to bank, that's hand in glove.
Right, that's the opposite
we get
side, yeah.
back to the debt. So I live in Frisco, Texas. I'm out talking to a lot of people in Frisco. The average home's $350,000. Most people have at least 2 cars, but if they got kids, more than 2, right?
yeah.
So you walk into a home. This is pretty common. We have 2 car payments that are somewhere, when you put the 2 together, around $1,200 a month. 3 or 4 credit cards, maybe more, but let's just say 3 or 4, $10,000, $15,000 worth of debt. Maybe they got a pool payment. Maybe they still got a couple of student loans. Not uncommon for me to walk into a home and there's $25,000 of monthly, every month I got to make that payment on that debt. Pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
So what if we seeded a bank and we started to run that cash into our bank, okay?
Right.
The minute we deposit it in our bank, we earn 4% compound interest. The minute, okay, so we put it in, it's called premium. The minute it's in our bank, we can borrow a portion of that back out. And you say, well, why would you want to borrow your own money? You don't. The insurance company uses your money as collateral.
Right.
And they make you a loan at, say, 5% simple. You're getting 4% compound. 4 compound is more than 5 simple.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start a debt snowball. We're going to put the money in, and if I could get you to add just an extra $100 a month, and we'll pick a card, a deal, and pay it off, right?
Right.
And as that shrinks, more and more of the money goes to just eliminating the debt altogether. The last payment you'll ever make is to yourself, back to your bank. When we're done with that debt, all the debt's gone, but every dime you ever paid is back in your account. And it's earning 4%. And it never stopped the whole time you were doing this. Scott, the wealthy have been doing this for a long time. They've figured out how to bank for a long time. It's not just the Rothschilds and super wealthy.
Right.
It's funny. I got an email this morning. So we have a new president, right? Well, on his disclosure, they have to disclose their finance stuff.
Right.
There's 5 infinite banking policies sitting on that disclosure. The wealthy have known this for a long time. There's a lot of some other reasons, just like, for example, once the money gets inside of an insurance policy in Texas where we live,
right,
it's creditor proof, it's lawsuit proof. No, it just disappears.
So it changes a lot of different things. And so the average returns are 4% compounded, and then what's that? I'm trying to do the math in my head and it's not working real quick. What does 4% compounded come to about? I mean, it's as far
so
as
most people it ends up north of 5, but there's also a dividend that raises it above that, and that's where it gets into the point where you really got to sit down.
Yeah, that's
and
where
go
you got to
through.
have an expert like
you got to go through somebody.
So as an individual, how much can I borrow? How much would I be able to take advantage of this?
So you're allowed to borrow what you've funded. You do have to fund your bank. There is a catch.
Okay, so you got to start.
You have to start. You have to fund your bank. So I have a lot of people I sit down with, they go, well, but I can't afford to fund my bank today. Okay, we pick a place and start.
Right, got it.
Okay, so we've all seen the hockey stick curve compound interest charts, right? Double a penny a day, $5 million, okay?
Yeah.
Well, if you take a day off of that that hockey stick growth, do you take the day off the beginning or the end when you decide to wait a day? You take the day off the end.
Yeah.
So the whole key to this is to understand it and start. Now, I said at the beginning of this, look, I spent 90 days understanding. Here's why. Because I knew everybody else can't afford to do that.
That time or that effort.
Yeah, I'm pretty much a cause marketer. Number one, if I won't do it, I'm not going to tell you to do it.
Right.
When I got really sick, I got in the nutrition business, spent about 10 years in the functional medicine business, got in the regenerative businesses. I called myself the human guinea pig. Right. Wasn't anything I didn't do or didn't try. I wasn't about to tell you, well, Scott, you should take this glutathione accelerator if I hadn't put it in my body. It's the same way here, practice what you preach. But when you go look at who does this, so here's another who does this. Banks.
So they use this same technique themselves.
Banks use this. If you don't believe me, go look at Dr. Google, go right now and type in BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. Every bank has not millions, these huge banks, Scott, they have billions of dollars of this on their books. Here's why. Okay, so just think about this for a second. You go to the bank and you give them $100,000 today in the form of a CD, right?
Right.
Well, because your banker really likes Scott Schilling, he's going to give you 1% today.
That's mighty nice
on that $100,000. So you're going to make $1,000 this year. Congratulations. Okay. But what's the bank do with that money? Well, everybody says, well, they loan it out. Well, that's tier 1 capital for them.
Yeah.
Tier 1 capital allows them access to go get other money from the Fed. So your 100,000's worth 800,000 to $1 million to them. That's actually the money they loan out. Okay?
Right.
They used your money to leverage.
To get the money that they could actually put in the market.
Here's what they do with your money a lot of the time, because your capital is extremely important to them. If they put it in one of these banking policies, they're paying you 1. If the banking policy pays 4 compound,
Yeah.
and they only have to pay you 1, what risk is there of them having it in a banking policy? That would be virtually none.
Yeah.
If the insurance companies go under, the rest of it won't matter.
Yeah.
That's where all the money is anyway. So they take your money, put it here. They're making 1, paying you 1. They get 4. Everybody says, well, they're making 3%. No, they're not. That's 400%
Yeah.
more
Yeah, exactly.
than they're paying you. And I saw a deal the other day. It was a Wells Fargo, one of their branch things. The number that they had was $22 billion.
Wow. That's
Not
pretty.
not a little. So they're taking your money and they're putting it in these. Wealthy been doing this for a long time.
So this is why, then again, Wealthy or those who know these systems or know to look at these kinds of things are paying really the lowest tax rates possible.
Right.
Because they've actually taken their money and put them into the instruments that allow them to do that totally inside the code.
Yeah, you said the ugly word, tax. How many of you want to pay more taxes?
No.
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 Do you think tax rates are going up or down? Okay, we're at an all-time 70-year low trough right now.
Yeah.
Okay. When you have your money inside a banking policy, Scott, it grows tax-free. You don't get a 1099. Now, if you put the money in that CD, you got to pay tax. You didn't even make 1 because you had to pay taxes on the 1.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
So inside a banking policy, the money grows. Okay? You're not going to get a 1099. As long as you leave it in there, it grows. And at the end of the rainbow, if you take those loans we talked about, and we'll explain that to anybody that wants just
Right.
exactly how it works,
Sure.
that's not a taxable event either. And if you take loans, so you're using to retire out of it, right? And you take loans and you started at 65 and you took loans till you graduated at 83. And let's say you had you'd really funded your account, and let's say you'd taken $500,000, pulled $500,000 out over that period of time.
Right.
So you owe somebody $500,000, right?
Right.
The insurance company. But you have an insurance policy in force.
Got it.
And the face amount of the insurance will always be more than the loan. And so at the time you graduate, the insurance company settles up by paying the loan off out of the death benefit. Everybody walks away happy.
Wow.
And any addition goes to your heirs. And oh, by the way, insurance goes to heirs
As well.
tax-free.
So, okay, maybe this is such a simple question. Why isn't everybody creating their own bank then?
Man, I'm going to be brutally honest. This concept's been out for a while. There was a guy, Nelson R. Nash. God bless Nelson. He's the one that exposed this and got it started.
Got it.
But it kind of became, in my opinion, kind of a little bit of a cult following where you had these small groups of people who knew how to do it,
Right.
and it's been pretty closely held.
Got it.
Okay? I'm sitting here right now because I believe people need to at least get a chance to hear this story. Is it for everybody? No, nothing's for everybody.
Right.
But you need to hear the story and see how it would apply to you.
Right.
Because here's what I'm seeing when I go out and sit in somebody's home, and let's just say we just start the debt snowball thing I talked about. I'll have people all the time, they'll say, well, Mike, I just don't have any extra money. Mike, I just, but they start.
Right.
They pick a place and they start. 6 months later, it's like money's coming out of the woodwork to fund their bank.
Got it.
It's a paradigm shift in how they think about money. And that's something I think, if I just take a minute, it's really important we talk just for a second about how Americans think about money, because we really don't understand the money system that we're in.
I don't know that we've ever really been taught the money system that we're in.
So you know that a few decades ago we came off the gold, silver standard and we went to what's called fiat currency.
Right.
Which means the only thing that's behind the money is the full faith of the United States government, right? It's
Right.
just paper. Okay? And there's this thing called the Federal Reserve, and that's who, remember when the bank, you put the 100,000 in and the bank can go get $1 million? That's from the Fed. Okay, so we've got this thing going on where kind of money just appears out of thin air. You hear these things on the news about the Fed loosening the money supply. That just means they turned on the printing press. They're just pumping more money into the system. Well, that comes at a cost. That cost is always inflation.
Right.
Yeah, down the road. So that system has taught us to be a consumable, consume-driven society. When do we want it in America? Now. I want it now.
Yeah.
How do I get it now? I finance it. I pay the system that money, okay? So over the course of my life, I pay, we just talked about cars, millions of dollars. So how much of my money that comes in every month goes to interest? Well, for the average person, it's well north of 20%. Some people it's closer to 40.
Wow.
Okay, every month, that money's just gone. Okay, if you had your own bank, that becomes
heading back to home.
Heading back to you just have to pick a place and start.
Yeah, I love the fact that you can eliminate debt by utilizing the money to fund your own bank.
Yeah, we're not talking about you going and getting a second job.
No, I know.
To start that. It's money you already spend.
Just changing direction and changing your focus. What a great opportunity to do that.
It's changing your mind.
Good point.
It's as simple as, you're just going to make a 360 and go the other direction.
It seems like it's as simple as, is this concept better than what you're doing now?
That's what I ask people a lot. How's what you're doing working out? So let's talk about that for 1 second for Americans. 42 years ago, when Art Williams brought me into the insurance business, we did a presentation. That presentation was called Big Circle, Little Circle. And you would get in front of the room, remember you got your grease board, right, or your big thing, and we'd draw a big circle and a little circle. And while you're doing your 30 minutes, you explain to people that 95% of the population, now this was 40 years ago,
wow,
ends up in the big circle at 65, which is one of two things, either dead or dead broke. Okay, here's what I mean by dead broke. You're 65, you have to keep working. Ain't no taking the kids to Disneyland and doing all that stuff. If you want to maintain your house, your car, your lifestyle, got to keep working. Or if you do retire, money's going to be gone in 3 to 10 years. Now what? Okay, 5% get there with enough to maintain some semblance of how they were.
How they got there.
Only 1 out of 100 people ends up with $1 million at the end of the rainbow.
Wow.
Okay, fast forward to today. Now that was 40 years ago. Bureau of Labor and Statistics the other day puts out a deal. 95% of the people in America who retire are going to have to continue to work. Nothing has changed. As a matter of fact, it's worse. So today, 1% of the people that have a qualified plan, 401k, Roth, all tax deferred, right? 1% get to 65 with $1 million. The average 65-year-old male in America has less than $100,000 in their 401k. It ain't working, okay? Then here's the fun part. So let's say you were super diligent and you kicked butt and you got $2 million in your 401k at the end of the rainbow. And you've got some other things that you've done, and you've found this ranch in West Texas. It's $2 million. And you're going to cash in, and you're going to go pay cash for the ranch, right? And with it paid for, we'll be okay. Except you go to cash in, and you get this letter, and it says, oh, I don't know if you remember this or not, but you have a partner in your 401k. That partner's Uncle Sam. Remember that word deferred? It's tax deferred. Well, we want our taxes now. Well, what tax bracket are you in? If you got $1 million, what tax bracket are you in?
Top one.
Let's just say it was just 30%.
Yeah.
Forget. So you got $2 million, right? You did really good.
Right.
What's 30% of $2 million?
600,000.
Well, how much are they going to send you a check for?
$1.4 million.
What just happened to the ranch?
Just got smaller. Wow.
Okay. We didn't even talk about fees.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So we didn't even go there. That's a whole nother thing. The conversation I have with people. So here's the big deal for me. I don't care whether you do this or not. I do. I think you should. Okay. But you know, I'm not going to show up at your door and browbeat you into doing this. Here's what I think you owe yourself. You owe yourself a trip down Knowledge Way to see if this is appropriate for you. At some point, you get enough information. Yes, I should. No, I shouldn't. And you go on. But to ignore this, when the banks do it, the wealthy do it, kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I totally agree with you. So how does our audience get a hold of you to have this conversation so that they can learn more and then make a good, at least an informed decision for themselves?
Okay, so number one, I'm simple to find on social media. If you know my name, there's a site that's Michael Brian Unclebach, which is my full name. There's one that says Mike Unclebach, if you don't remember Michael Brian, so you can message me there. Okay, my email is my name, no dots, no underscores, mikeunclebach@gmail.com. So that's pretty simple.
How would they call you?
You know what? We'll just give out my cell phone.
That'd be fair.
903-815-5221. Well, I'll do that as long as I can continue to field the calls. But since we've been down this path, the phone rings a lot more often.
Awesome. I really appreciate the information. I know our audience does. We're going to make sure that you get a hold of this information as well. Go ahead and simply text "What Now" to 72,000. That's "What Now" to 72,000. We'll make sure that you get Mike's information, and I think we've got maybe a little ebook and some other information on infinite banking that we'll have available to you. This is it's an eye opener. Again, a lot of times I think people think, oh, man, I pretty well got this handled. And then all of a sudden you hear this and you go, I really don't have this quite as handled as I thought I might.
Yeah, it blew me away when I finally took the time to understand, so much to the point that this is what I do. It's what I'm going to talk to people about.
Well, thank you for doing it. Thank you for coming here and sharing it with our audience. And thank you for being here. We'll be back next week with Scott Schilling Speaks. Have a great day and God bless.
God bless.
Connections are the lifeblood to grow your business, but current times have made quality connections hard to find, if not impossible. This is why Be Connected created the Connection Generator, a highly sophisticated, powerful search engine algorithm that will completely revolutionize the way you network and accelerate your results. Now you can experience the Connection Generator for free. Once set up, Instantly, the Connection Generator delivers the right people for your business using its proprietary artificial intelligence matchmaking technology. Think of it like dating software, but for the business world. We just changed the questions. Instant messaging, multiple ways to connect, and a 5-star user-generated rating system creates an experience that eliminates spam and wasted effort without ever leaving your home or office. During your free trial, you'll see the Connection Generator is super simple to use. In fact, people from all backgrounds and industries, from CEOs to entrepreneurs to work-at-home moms, use the Connection Generator to find their ultimate business connections. When you sign up for your free trial offer, you'll discover the Connection Generator scans industry, geographic location, and even target audiences to match you to the very best of the best, to include highly successful leaders just like you. So if you're ready to start leveraging technology, you're just a click away from activating your free trial and instantly connecting to exact matches just for you. Once you're a member, best of all, we can show you how to qualify for free continuing membership. It's our way of saying thanks for being a part of Be Connected. So what are you waiting for? Click now and get started today for free.